Good afternoon and welcome to episode 11. Tonight we are live out of 1804, located at Parry Street here at Newcastle West, discussing Newcastle as a living lab for smart city ideas, pilots and projects.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 11 of Lunaticks Live. My name is Olivia Ollie.
And I'm Greg Hall.
Oh, hi, Greg.
Hi, Olivia. How are you?
I'm great.
Oh, good.
Great. I'm very excited to be here at 1804.
It's a fantastic colour scheme, and I believe this is the second oldest building here in Newcastle, Old Coal Town. So I believe there were two places you dreaded ever to go to if you reoffended. It was way down Tasmania Way, and the other one was here, and nobody ever left. So, however, tonight it's all going to be about living labs, isn't it?
A far cry from the old convict world that we had in Newcastle. Yes, living labs, that's what we're talking about tonight. What is living labs?
Well, I think that's the question we need to explore, and we've got some fabulous guests who are going to be doing that with us tonight, including we've got Nicola Stadler and James Vidal from Newcastle City Council, David Lesk, who's a bit of a robotics guru from TAFE New South Wales, and we also have one of the, it's David Putsty from Binchair. He's a client here, or a tenant here at 1804, and also joining us is Rajesh Barwash, who's the founder and chief executive of 99R, and the R part is what we're going to find out about.
Yes, I'm very excited about tonight. Living labs is an interesting topic when it comes to smart cities. It's personally interesting to those involved in the Lunaticks Live. Why is that, Greg? Because
in 2011, as part of the broader discussion we were having, we actually ran a whole session, and it was actually in town. And there the question was posed to members of the Newcastle City Council as to how the community could be involved in that process and actually be a part of it. So I guess 2011, now we're looking on 6 years later, where are things at? And I think we've clearly seen that the living city notion is very, very current, it's vibrant, and it's going to be really important.
Yeah, so from 2011 to 2017, we've come quite a long way. Our guests from the Newcastle City Council will tell us all about what's going on now and the big grant and the financial scheme that they have for the Digital City program. But to step back in time, we'll go to 2011 with this film from the Lunatic Society.
Newcastle's event for June on Smart and Innovative City.
I'd like to thank all four of the panelists and the panel plan on Newcastle fostering new ideas from businesses.
We're always more than welcome as a council to hear from businesses. I'm interested to hear also from the community about how you want to be involved in it.
Business to blame, government to blame business. I think it needs to be the two working together.
Council doesn't engage business in the way that it wants to be engaged, then they're irrelevant.
The thing about innovation is about stepping out of the box.
I come out of heavy industry where we used to do benchmarking, and it was pretty straightforward. You just go and find someone that's better than you, and you copy them. And in the act of copying them, what you actually do is you leapfrog across them into the future. Tell me the names of some cities in the world that are smart and are innovative that we can just have a look at.
Because it's a slack-ass proposition that you've got there. That is not innovation, dude. That's copying.
The response parroted a lot of what I had said, so I think my comment and my question wasn't understood.
Define, play places that are using similar competitive advantages to an even better degree.
So there's a number of things we can cherry pick from other areas around the world.
What are we going to actually do to drive innovation in Newcastle to attract new business to town?
Who are the people we're going to target? Who are we looking for?
We've got a strip here that's really cheap.
What kinds of people, what kinds of events can they bring with them?
If they came here and they had superfast broadband access, and if we had a big talk fest once a year that went for a week and encouraged a lot of great comment, then I think the council will then find we've got innovation coming to Newcastle.
What kind of entourage do they have if we can attract them here?
I'm sure this debate will carry on much longer than this couple of hours of tonight.
I think the last thing we want is for the council to feel like they're on the back foot about this stuff. Because I think we're all in this together and we can create something really fabulous in this town.
I don't think council has much of a role really with innovation. The best that they can do is facilitate it. They can put the environment in place to create an innovation. But trying to expect council to create a new Facebook or a new Google, I think we're asking too much of them. It's got to come from the business community.
And there you have it. That was Lunaticks Live 6 years ago when we were just imagining that Newcastle could be a smart city. And here we are today to talk about the Smart City program that is so exciting. Greg?
So two individuals who are a part of driving that process and joining us with great pleasures, Nicholas Stabler, who's a City Digital Experience Analyst, and James Vidler, who's the Smart City Analyst. And gentlemen, I'll get you to talk a little bit about those roles because I guess it's all the emerging arena of new jobs that are coming out and so forth. But I guess, Olivia, we head off with the first question.
Well, first of all, just to contextualise what we're talking about here, the Smart City team at the council have been awarded a $5 million grant through the Australian government for technology and another $10 million through other sources of investment partners, creating a $15 million $15 million project to deliver on-demand, citywide digital services to transform the city into a living digital lab. Now, that's what we're here to talk about. Nick, I'm gonna get you to start. Can you introduce what is a living lab? What is this program?
So the living lab is basically if you look at a city, you can see, if you see it as an experimental platform where there's technology in the city, there's people moving throughout the city, there's scope to trial new things within the city. That's maybe technology, it may be the way transport works. So basically the way Newcastle Council is approaching that is we're getting together with industry partners, research partners, and other levels of government, as well as the citizens, to try and create what we're calling, or what is called, the living lab. And that's where you can trial different technology throughout the city, as well as different policy and regulations.
So why is trialling technology in the city an important thing for this day and age?
I guess it's about innovation, and for Newcastle to attract and retain talent and to attract investment in the city, we need to show that we're an innovative city, we're getting things done, we're helping Australia to produce outputs that are relevant to the world. And I guess cities are one of those interesting ecosystems where there's a lot of people gathered in one area and there's so many different aspects to it that you need to be able to understand and move people throughout that city really easily. It's been a challenge for years and years and years, so if we can help in that to help facilitate that improvement, that would be a great thing for Newcastle.
So Nicholas, what is your background? Where do you come from in terms of inputting into this process?
Yeah, so my role here is City Digital Experience Analyst, and that means that I'm looking at how the data can be used, how it can be visualized and then put together, what kind of apps we can create that will help people better utilize services throughout the city, and that could be transport, that could be as simple as finding out what local cafes are around and finding out what events are on. So it's stitching all of that together into a more seamless experience. There's been a bit of, it's been a bit, how do you say, like separate or, things are happening everywhere, but you can't really tell where they're happening. So bringing that experience together for citizens is kind of my personal kind of role within this. Yeah.
What type of digital services are we expecting to explore with the Living Lab?
Well, hopefully in the Living Lab there'll be a lot of open data that gets pushed out into the ecosystem that allows developers to use and to data scientists as well to look at and mash up together to create insights into both planning as well as it could be real-time services. So for example, and I might hand over to James here to talk a bit about LiDAR or something like that, but if we can get real-time data in the city, we can move traffic in real time, or we can make decisions in real time. For example, a business might be able to say, okay, it looks like the weather's saying that there's rain. We know that we've looked at the data in the past and we show that people aren't moving past in the rain, so maybe we don't need as many staff. It's that kind of thing that can start to happen in the future. Do you want to talk a bit more about that?
What was the actual question?
It was about digital services.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So Nick is he's the data guy, and information guy, and experience guy. I'm the gears, levers, strings, and pulleys guy. I'm interested in the platform that gets built. And it is all about, and going back to this, the idea of the Living Lab and why it's important, because this is all new stuff. The stuff that we're doing in Newcastle is not only advanced for Australia, it's advanced to the world. And in 18 months' time, when we've got some of this stuff in the ground, industry will be looking at us and going, holy moly, they've actually figured out that you've got to build a platform first, up from the ground, and then you build your services on top of it. And those services, realistically, smart city point of view, are limitless. There's no, once you've got it, once you have it, there's so many things that you can do with it.
So when you say literally in the ground, one of the key things when resurfacing the roads around Newcastle in preparation for the supercars was that was an opportunity to actually lay sensors into the spaces. Is that correct?
Well, that will come. What we are doing as is fairly common practice, I suppose, across councils across Australia, is that when you dig up a road, there's a lot of things that you can put in that will be to your advantage further down the line. And that could be as simple as a pit and pipe network. So a network that you put in, you might not use it, but at some point you're going to run fibre optic cable down it, and then you're going to connect all of those fibre optic cables to every smart pole. That's the kind of thing that we do. So when they dug up the east end, as they're digging up the light rail corridor, we're taking advantage of that, not only to replace existing street poles with smart poles, but to sort of put that foundation infrastructure in, that then is shared across a whole range of sorts of technologies. But there is a core infrastructure line that needs to go in before all of this other stuff, all of the whiz-bang.
How long is the infrastructure going to take for you guys?
So rubber's really starting at the road, and we've got the benefit of a lot of sort of state and federal funding that has come our way, but with large sums of months' responsibility, and one of those responsibilities is spending getting time, and we have to spend it essentially for about 18 months from now. So we need to be able to demonstrate significant forward momentum within the next 6 months, and then a lot of stuff needs to complete within definitely 12 to 18 months. In order to satisfy those
requirements. So in terms of the actual sensors and the ability to use the data for predictive machine learning, who's Newcastle City Council going to partner up with? Who are the vendors that you're looking at? And is it going to be open source?
So it will be open source, it will be an open platform, so it will be standards based, it will be made available to all comers. There will be different arrangements put in for the community, there will be put in place for anyone who has an idea to come along and use our platform. There will be a part of the platform that is for collaboration between Newcastle City Council and their partners, whoever they may be. and then will be a part of it as delivering real world services. And the idea would be is that something comes through that ecosystem. So this living lab idea is that you have someone conceive an idea, they have a proof of that they want a concept they want to prove. We would then partner with them, maybe financially, maybe in kind. They partner with another third-party entity. That might be a large corporate. So it could be a network provider talking to someone who's got a great transport idea, who comes to us and goes, how about we co-fund proof of concept? You do that. That then turns into a pilot. That pilot then turns into something that's operational.
Which goes back.
It might be a council thing. It might be a council service that we need. It might be a commercial service that comes along and wants to use the same platform. Build once, use many.
So this goes back to what you were saying, Nick, in terms of experimenting, seeing how things go, test and try, and move on quickly, because if it's not going to work, fine, let's have something ready to fill in that gap. Is that the kind of thinking around the...
Yeah, that's right. We're going with a kind of a modular approach. Coming back to those poles, they're built to be modular, so you can pull bits out of them, put in new sensors, trial them, see how they go, bring that data in through the connectivity that's through the ground, goes into the IoT platform, and then other people can use. And then after the trial's finished, pull that back out, put something else in there to trial that as well. It becomes very modular and very flexible in the approach. So that, if something's not working, we just pull it back out and try something else.
Will entrepreneurs and tech companies be able to come to you and pitch an idea for something that they think would be of benefit to the city for this program? Or is this something that is there's a limited service provider kind of pool that you'll work with?
There's a range of approaches, from having us sort of maybe run a sort of small incubator of ourselves, or our own sort of that kind of process. There will be other processes where we are providing funding directly to the likes of TAFE University for them to employ PhD students to undertake research. That research will be partnered with, or maybe with a large corporate. So a corporate might come to us saying, we've got a problem, what can you do to help us? We would then activate people to then. So ranging through to then partnering with organisations like 1804 on particular problems, where we go, okay, there's something that's come along, and how can we work together? But the whole idea is smart cities, and I'm stealing a line from someone else, is about smart people. It's about people working together. As much as I love the infrastructure and the tech and the stuff in the ground, ultimately that's for nothing. It's for naught if we don't all work together. And there's various ways that we will work together, and that's the whole idea, that's the whole concept.
So 18 months down the track, would you like to see Newcastle?
Well, we'd like to see IoT platform in place with open data available via APIs and also via visualizations. There'll be connectivity, different types of connectivity available to test sensors. There'll be different trials and pilots already happening in transport space and in other spaces like digital services as well. Ideally, we'd be looking more towards virtual reality and augmented reality as well in the city, maybe for wayfinding or for other content or communication. And ideally, we'd have apps that will tell us, what's happening in the city event-wise, where the ways to get to certain places, and hopefully being able to organise collaboration in the city across the different levels. So from different levels of government, industry, research, and then the citizens to all kind of come together to actually create this living lab. Yeah.
It's really exciting, and it's a privilege for Newcastle to be working on such a great groundbreaking project. So well done for running the team and running the project, and we look forward to many more discussions with you over the next 18 months and beyond.
Round of applause, gentlemen. Thank you very much. So after the break, Chad Ravage is going to talk with Tech News, and then he's also going to have a chat with David Leask, all about, the robotics guru, but all the other things that are happening in an exciting space at TAFE New South Wales.
Hi, it's James Garvey and Sean Sherlock, and we're here out the front of the Foghorn Brewhouse. These are our old heritage doors that we've put on. Why don't you come on inside and we'll show you our wonderful old venue. We have a 70 kilowatt solar system on the roof that generates the power for all of our needs, typically while the sun is up. And that powers our pizza oven and all the electrical appliances. It's working quite well for us. And the other thing, throughout the entire venue, we have free Wi-Fi open to the public because we want to see the venue used as a workspace for companies and people that want to have meetings and people that just need to get out of working from home, get in.
Good afternoon, Lunaticks. My name is Chad Ramage, and I'm here tonight with David Leask at the amazing 1804 here at Parry Street. David, I believe you were pretty pivotal in getting this location locked down with Ganilla.
Oh, well, it was a collaborative effort, wasn't it? Yeah, thanks for asking, Chad. Yeah, awesome experience. A couple of years ago, we were in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and on this Australian Industry Group trade mission to have a look and see how a traditional steelmaking and coal mining city reinvented itself into a smart tech city. And we visited a lot of robotics companies and polytechs, universities and tech startups and incubators. And Ganilla just slipped during dinner one night and said, hey, Ada was talking for some premises and having a bit of difficulty. And I said, hey, there's a couple of areas that I know of, and this very building that we're sitting in now, and it's out now, and I'm going to find it difficult to find a new place to hide and think, because the tower up the top, an area I love, because I go up there sometimes and have a bit of a think and a ponder and have a look out across the harbour in the city. And
well, you work out of this building too, don't you, as a part of the skills point for TAFE New South Wales?
Absolutely. So I'm on a project right now. I'm the project lead for the development of a framework for a mechatronics program. So that's for the skills point for innovative manufacturing, robotics and science for TAFE New South Wales.
You've been out today with some industry doing some collaboration around manufacturing and maybe even some automation.
Absolutely. A couple of weeks ago I got a phone call from a guy in Launceston, and they heard a guy on ABC Radio being interviewed, and in fact the guy's from Oxley Island, east of Taree. This guy said that he makes carbon fibre composite oars for surf boats, world renowned. They've got to change the way they do things to stay internationally competitive, because people are copying their product and making knockoffs and charging half the price. So we visited a robotic dairy at Upper Lansdowne. We took the owners of this ore-making manufacturing company with us to see what a husband and wife did to take a purely manual manufacturing plant. They make milk using cows. And
howdy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Thanks, Chad. So husband and wife took an operating manufacturing plant from full manual operation to 100% automated, and there's a lot of social responsibility that comes with that. Like a new baby, machines operate 24 hours a day, things go wrong. It's operated using the smartphones, and of course there's alerts that happen during the night, and people are being woken up every 5 minutes, so until you discover how to filter out the problems. So anyway, we took the people from this manufacturing plant at Oxley Island up to the robotic dairy to see what responsibilities come from automation. We ended up with a delegation of about 18 people, ranging from politicians to business advisors, lean manufacturing practitioners, people up to vocational education, and people that have a vested interest in economic development in the region. Then we all went back to the manufacturing plant to have a bit of a talk about what these people could do to take baby steps to automation. All they need to do is to change a few things, and they'll certainly remain internationally competitive. Big success today, I think.
Yeah, hopefully they do have an awesome transition to that automated manufacturing space.
You're awful.
I believe we do also have a manufacturing centre coming to Tyers Hill.
Yeah, well, about 2 weeks ago, there's a project that I've been working on for the last 2.5 years or so. I've had a few knockbacks, funding grant applications and what have you, but had some very, very good news that we're looking like that we're well on track for the build of a manufacturing technology training facility in the Hunter. And it's going to be primarily roboticised manufacturing plant to teach people how to repair, maintain, code, implement, generally look after full automation in the manufacturing sector for solids and liquids.
And skilling up those students to actually work on those automated platforms once they're out, launched, rolled out to industry?
Absolutely. So what we love here is we've got a wonderful university sector that produces some beautiful design engineers that come up with concepts, prototype them, and put these prototypes to market. And what we love is this gear blows up down the track, so we train the people to fix this stuff down the track. So the idea of this manufacturing technology centre is just like a car, will need maintenance down the track, so too does automation in the manufacturing sector, and that's where we come in.
Speaking of down the track, we have just had the V8s here in Newcastle, and you've been involved in a project with a V8 simulator.
Yeah, approached by Premier and Cabinet around about 3 months ago with a challenge. They asked me if I could take some robotics and electronics to Foreshore Park to engage the V8 supercar set. And I love electronics and I love automation, and so I said, look, with respect, I don't know if the crowd's going to be entirely interested in electronic systems and robotics. I mean, it's good to look at, but leave it with me and I'll come back with something funky for you. So I pleaded about 3 days that we could build a race car sim. Never built one in my life. And so, a drink coaster design. What I did was I pulled together about nine different disciplines, electronics, the IT department, refrigeration, because you've got to have a full can cooler, to cool your drink when you're driving, and engineering, fabrication, patent panel, light automotive, and the like. So we came up with a supercar simulator that's been driven now by a couple of race car drivers. Ian Moss had a booking for that for 1 hour straight. The skills minister also had a booking, and we had about 260 people drive this vehicle over the 3 days of the supercar event. So that meant that it was running at about 90% capacity. We had 3 failures. The pedals went forward a little bit. We had to pull them because there was a lock nut that loosened. Somebody stood on the power lead and disconnected the whole show and shut it down, but our uninterruptible power supply kept it alive and running. And the third thing was that our can cooler, someone put a plastic bottle with water in it and it froze in there. So, yeah, they were the only failures we had, and we love it.
That is a great success of a failure. That was worked way too well. So thank you very much for your time today, David. I will just wrap up with, on December 6th down at Wyong Nexus Hub, and December 13th here at 1804, we have the pitch practices for the Regional Incubator Program. So we'd love to have you book in and come along. But from now, we will head over to a video interviewing Gunilla. Thank you.
I'm Gunilla Burrows and I'm the chair of 1804.
I'm Andrew Mears and I was one of the founders and also now one of the residents of 1804.
1804 is an inspirational incubator and co-working space that focuses on clean tech and smart city startups. The name 1804 is really important because it is really part of the story of Newcastle as an engineering and innovative city. It has reinvented itself in that innovation space several times, and I think we are in that new phase of another renewal.
I represent Switched In, which is one of the largest residents in the co-working space, and Switched In's been there for the whole journey. In fact, it was one of the reasons why we founded 1804. We were trying to get a tech startup up and running in this city, and we recognise the need to have a place where like-minded, similar staged companies could interact, share resources and network, and where others could find us. So the idea is that new companies come in and they're just getting started. They're 2 or 3 people and they're on this floor here, mingling and networking with the others that are here. The moment they start to grow, we've got space for them upstairs. So they move up into more committed office space for larger groups, really supporting focused teams. We've really got demand for this sector, clean tech and smart cities. One of the key features of these startups is that there's a lot of hardware involved. So up that end, we've got a great workshop which we're pulling together, which we think is a real differentiator in terms of incubators and co-working spaces in the city. And we're going to have a number of desks available for short term, but most of the desks will be long-term startups in their early startup and scale-up phases.
So I think the future here at 184 is we really want to focus on the commercialisation path. I think the that 1804 can bring is its industry connection, connection to investors, to scaling globally. We hope.
Yeah, well, so we couldn't have gotten started in that first stage without the support of the council. So the council came, provided a small seed grant, which had enabled us to really kick off. And that allowed us to attract CSIRO.
And CSIRO were fantastic, giving us office space for the first year and a half of operations. But then we've moved into this amazing space in New South Wales TAFE Hamilton campus, and so we have to thank TAFE for all the support that they've given us in helping us with the renovation, but financially with Jobs for New South Wales, who gave us the money to actually finish the fit out and be able to move in.
So if you want to get in touch, then through the website 1804.com.au.
Fantastic. And look, welcome back here to Lunaticks Live, episode 11, coming live to you from 1804. And of course, they're having their official launch on December 5 at 10 a.m. Is that correct? No? Thank you. So we also have an opportunity to say thank you to our sponsors for tonight, obviously 1804, the Production Hub. Thank you very much, Olivia. TAFE New South Wales, and especially the Foghorn Brewhouse, who have provided a keg. Now, I just ask everyone to pop a little gold coin donation into the little receptacle at the back there to say thanks as you drink the lovely foaming quaff. Thomas, which brew did they give us? Do you know, mate?
Australian Pale Ale. Australian Pale Ale.
Australian Pale Ale. Fantastic. Okay, so I think we'll hop into that after we're finished here. However, joining us up here this evening, is our other guest, David Puxty. Olivia, tell us a little bit about it.
Oh yes, well, welcome David. David Puxty is a tenant here at 1804. 1804, if you didn't hear in the video, is a space for green tech and smart city startups to get their feet and basically help take over the world in a very good way. So David Puxty is one of the first intakes here at 1804, and he is an entrepreneur. He's an entrepreneur using tech and a new business model to help disrupt the waste industry. David, tell us all about disrupting and waste.
The world of carbology is what did we say before? A rich tapestry of dodginess. It's
varying hues, I believe. You might describe it.
Yes.
Dialectically.
So I've come at the waste industry with a mix of a sustainability angle and a smart city angle as a geography grad way back in the day. And I guess one of the products I've been pushing out there is around helping waste companies be more efficient and get commodities back into the market easier. And over the years, I've realised that they're really not interested in in getting commodities back efficiently and turning them into new products, but they're really interested in, they're more profitable in being inefficient. So I've set about trying to change that business model so that we don't have trucks frivolously driving on our roads, picking up empty bins on purpose to...
4 a.m. in the morning, pulling past my corner, you know, and readjusting the bin as he does so. Right, you know.
So it makes it even worse that they're probably doing that knowing that it's nearly empty, just for a click
effect.
of...
And they say, I'm going to let these people, I'm up at 4 a.m. in the morning, you're all going to be
Yeah,
the same.
that's right. I'm going to start making money as soon as I can. Yeah.
David, you describe your business as Tinder for waste.
Yes.
So what does that mean?
It's sexy.
It's a great way to describe what you do.
Well, as everyone used to say, they're the Uber of everything, but the word Uber is getting a little bit muddy, so I've moved on to Tinder, which is far...
It's soiled as well.
It's good for a laugh in any case.
So how do waste go on dates with itself?
Yeah, exactly. So what the industry has produced is an industry where every business has got bins and service schedules that they don't need, and they're locked into contracts that keep them there for 3 years, and there's automatic rollover clauses and all sorts of things. So you have, probably in the CBD of Newcastle, hundreds if not thousands of general waste and recycling containers that are empty when they're serviced, and they're charged as a set fee. So concurrently, we've got people hiring skips to come into the city for their other waste needs, or they're going out of town to the waste facilities to use them, driving past all of these empty assets. The other part of it is that we've got government-funded shredders and balers and compactors and all sorts of things that businesses are subsidised to have that are probably used for half an hour a day. And I think there's a lot of efficiency, and it'll go a good way towards a smart city if we can start using those assets more efficiently, rather than trucking recyclables straight past them and miles out into the western suburbs.
Well, I guess what you're thinking and talking about dovetails beautifully with the whole Living Cities, Living Hub project that Council is developing.
I think so, yeah. I think the lesson I've learned over the years of failing slowly in business is that smart cities aren't just about sensors. A sensor's a tool in the toolbox, but you need to make sure everyone's moving in the right direction and the sensor's actually helping. If the sensor just flies in the face of a business model and the sensor's actually decreasing profit of those that control it, then you're just wasting your time. So what we've done is create a bin share where these companies can look on an app and find waste assets nearby and deal with another company and not actually have to deal with a waste company directly. So hence the Tinder of the waste industry, in that you can find a bin nearby.
Is this mostly for commercial use, or will it also be for residential waste?
It'll be for both. So it'll be for residential. So you can, you've got the twice a year curbside collection, but it'll be for if you've done a spring clean or you've got lots of green waste or whatever it might be. It'll link you into either people that are making compost for a living, or bins that are empty, or you might have moved and you might have 50 or 80 boxes that you need to get rid of, and you can actually find front lift cardboard bins nearby that a company will be quite happy to charge you $10 to use, and you're saving yourself an hour or so of going out to the tip and back, or feeding them through your bin, as a lot of people would do. So yeah, it's about efficiency and sort of selling convenience, but we're really looking to get recyclables back into productivity as fast and as efficiently as we can.
Because I know there was a scheme, and perhaps Ragesh will confirm that the street sweepers in London were used to sweep all the streets, and they actually had collectors in them, and they were as they were sweeping the streets, they were also vacuuming up an enormous amount of precious metals and other goods that actually they were turning over then. So when they recycled all of that out and filtered it, that was turned into actually saleable product and content. Are you aware of that one?
Yeah, and it's a really good example of a lot of examples where a lot of our waste products are actually commodities if we manage them efficiently. At the moment, the waste companies will spend $200, which they're getting revenue, so they're making money, to collect $100 worth of cardboard. So the system's broken for us to actually get recyclable commodities back productively, because the business model is for them to pick it up as inefficiently as possible and make more money. That's why we're not recycling as much plastic or as much metal or as much glass as we should be, because all the money is going into the collection, which is on purpose inefficient to increase the profits of a lot of these waste companies that are French or German. So so I'm trying to break that model, I suppose, and allow, for the example you talk about, I'm looking for BinShare to be the platform that other companies can use to create small businesses, commodity-based businesses, to get those commodities back into profitability.
Just a quick question on your residency here at 1804. How is this helping in your business? Are you finding that you're kind of doing that water cooler conversation with other startups? And if so, just tell us what the atmosphere and the collaboration is like here.
Yeah, great. So I was invoice number one. In the early days, I was in a joint office space, and I think for the first week I was sitting in a room on my own, and I'd be sitting there and the lights would go out, which was pretty funny. But since then, you can imagine, so I've come from a science background and a rural background, agricultural background in a way. And here I was trying to be a part of the smart city scene with sensors and technology. And I knew what the problem was, but I didn't really know how the sensor that I was selling worked. So to have people in this space that really had that tech background that could really teach me, like you couldn't possibly pay anyone to teach me the way they did, is invaluable. But to also have the board that have experienced everything that we're going through and understand the journey we're making as small business people, really, and understand the aspect of investors that might want to be involved in companies like ours is just brilliant for someone like myself.
Great. Thank you so much, David. Thank you for joining us. And again, thanks to 1804 for helping us host here at Lunaticks Live. We're going to go to an ad break.
Welcome back to Lunaticks Live, episode 11. We're talking smart, well, actually living cities, which is the big focus. And Olivia, I think we've had some really good conversation. In fact, I think it's a great way to wind up 2017.
Yeah, well, Greg, this is the last of the year. You won't see us again until 2018. So it's been a really great show to talk about all the things that the Lunaticks Live are really passionate about. And for me to hear that we're making groundbreaking strategies for the world is quite an achievement. So that leads us to the next guest, Rajesh Bajwa. I'm so sorry if I pronounced
you said it well.
Great. Founder and CEO of 99 There's a few things we're going to talk about with you this evening. But first of all, how about we talk about your hat, Vanguard.
Sure, great place to start. So Vanguard was a pioneering experience that happened a couple of weeks ago. And Vanguard is typically a global gathering of urban innovators, 50 urban innovators, and typically it's being hosted in legacy cities all over North America. So Reno in Texas, LA, New York, in terms of the bigger cities that were going through their own reinventions. And it's gone on for 10 years. Every year a different city is chosen. Last year, for the first time, was outside of America, where they had Montreal as a host. And This year, for the first time, they decided to have it outside of the continent, and they looked at all the different aspects, the opportunities. And it was a competitive selection process, and let's be celebrating because Newcastle won. Yeah.
Newy.
And that saw 50 global innovators, 25 from North America and Europe, and 25 from Australia and New Zealand, really looking at what are the now issues of Newcastle, and also what should we be thinking about now with the next 5 to 10 years ahead. And we brought this diverse perspective of viewing it, and we in particular looked at some heritage and buildings like the post office and the railway line as well.
And what were some of your findings during this week? Like, I understand that you looked at those buildings, but what did you discover, or what information was given to the City of Newcastle?
Sure. So the first thing was people fell in love with Newcastle. Yeah? Across New Zealand, America, they just connected and emotionally connected to the city a lot, and a lot of them want to come back. One of the things that they were really amazed by was when we learned about this Renew Newcastle movement, and they were amazed that they said, hey, where they saw grey, empty space, no one wants to deal with you, where to see suddenly it was transformed into this amazing artist quarter, which any city would be proud of. So that grit, that what Marcus Westbury talked about, sweat equity, was something that really left a deep resonance with a lot of the people. And the other thing that was fascinating for a lot of them was the heritage. And we went to the museum, Lockup, and we saw a fascinating exhibition of ladies that had come together telling stories to put these crafts together. And to see that really woven right in the commercial gallery was a revelation for many people from the US. So really it was this aspect of people doing stuff that other people really enjoyed. This grassroots sweat equity was a big thing that came out of the week, and also the welcoming nature of Newcastle for a lot of especially our overseas people.
Now, based on your experience working in England and in London in particular, you've now brought a lot of that intelligence, that data, because you describe yourself as a urban data architect. So we've read some great terms tonight. So I think we're celebrating sort of that very much, a leap of faith to some extent, and language that not many people are quite know how to embrace. But so urban data architect, you're trying to then think about how do you apply that in the space, and particularly around Parramatta, where you're based at the moment. Is that correct? Yeah, totally. So again, urban data architect is an invented term, right? So we just looked at, hey, what do we want to call ourselves going forward? And so we looked at what do we really love? And one of the things we love is architectural thinking, design thinking, which is creating with the person in mind, creating with a multitude of perspectives in mind. So we said, look, in many ways, even though we're not built environment architects, we've got to start looking at these solutions, these technologies, from this architect perspective. And then we looked at the data aspect. So for a lot of us, data was one of those resources, and especially from some of the cities that in particular the GLA and Transport for London, in London, had an amazing open data portal and platform, and we've seen something like about 100 different apps come out of just that portal and millions of economic value. So we said, look, so data is this amazing resource that we can create value out of, and we want to do it in urban contexts. So hence we combined these three loves of ours being myself and a couple of colleagues in London before I left in mid-April. And so we said, look, our title is going to be Urban Data Architects going forward, which is how can we make our cities better using an architectural mindset and data as a resource.
Let's talk about what you launched in October, the Sustainable Travelling Lab. That I believe is about working out how to change behaviour when it comes to travel. Can you explain what it's so new, it's about a month old, so please describe it to us.
Yeah, sure. So just to take it back to I think the first question you asked tonight, which was beautiful, and which was, I think you asked it to Nick, how do you define a living lab, right? So, and it's called the Sustainable Travel Living Lab. And for me, I guess I define it in 3 words, which is kind of borrowed from that lean startup methodology, which is do, learn, and adapt. That's what makes it living. So an idea is real when it's shipped. We observe how people interact with it, and then we adapt it. Yeah, so when that happens, it becomes a living lab. So this Sustainable Travel Living Lab project, we launched it at Data 61 in CSIRO's research hub in Redfern, but it was inspired by a project I was deeply involved in London called the Zero Emissions Network, or ZEN as a nickname. And so a couple of years ago, air quality became a massive political issue in London, and largely because some of the most busy intersections were right smack next to primary schools and preschools. So it was getting very, very nasty and so on, a big political issue. So the mayor said, look, we're going to set up a massive air quality fund, give it to a couple of boroughs to do some innovation and start fixing this. And there was also this whole threat of EU fines looming. So the borough I was based in, Hackney, and I was based in Shoreditch, was one of these boroughs that got the funding. And so myself, a couple of other colleagues, in collaboration with the borough, we set up this, and again, I was involved, I didn't set it up, it was the Zero Emissions Network. And initially we just said, okay, what can we do that can encourage businesses to change behavior from what was still then a car-dominant mode? And we decided the first thing we'll do is just be a connector. Let's be a one-stop hub for everything that relates to electric vehicles, that relates to bike-to-work schemes, so that if you are interested in changing behavior, you can come to us and we'll give you the personalized advice and also connect you to technologies that'll make it happen. So that scheme started, we had 14 business members, and now when I left in mid-April, we had 1,000 plus business members. We have case studies where fishmongers switched travel modes to electric cargo bikes, and they have zero fuel costs every week, and they just zip through all of London delivering these deliveries. We have instances of different businesses doing shared travel on electric taxis, and so on. So that was the thinking, and I said, okay, how can we take that thinking but apply it to a more Australian context? And so we launched like this workshop, and I just threw a lot of ideas, and the feedback we got was very simple. First thing was, they said, look, we've had enough of ideas. This was especially some of the councils, I won't name them. We have enough of ideas. I've heard these ideas 2 years ago, even though they were funky and good. We had lots of themes. What was the most valuable aspect of the Living Lab for me was that you presented some practical technologies that I was able to take home. So we featured this technology called Lift Tango, who's a Novocastrian guy, and we featured him on the fireside, and that was valuable for him. The other thing he said was you did a mini prototype sprint with a theme. That was very valuable because we played with some real Transport for New South Wales data, and we started to get towards building a prototype. So that was the big learning for me. I said, we'll relaunch that in mid-February, March, but I really need to take those learnings and really look at, okay, we've got to make this like a living lab. Learn, adapt. So stay tuned for the next version of that, and all things well, we can do some sessions here as well.
Are you hoping to create another hub of information for people to come to? Is that on the agenda?
Look, it's an interesting one because London, again, is different to Newcastle. So what worked in London was we had some awesome partners. So Tesla was a partner, Ford, Nissan were a partner, and offers. Yeah, so they gave lots of discount trials for businesses to do shared travel, and that worked really well. But we've got to really find out what works well for Newcastle businesses to change behaviour. And that's again, a living lab thing. We might do some tech days where we tell them, hey, here's some special trials for some ready-to-go technologies, but it might be that they want to do prototyping themselves. We're just going to find out by doing these challenges and events.
Now, there was another project you mentioned before we went to air about the walkability or city. And of course, it's really timely given that post the supercars we've had, the uptake of people physically moving through the city, physically walking here was quite extraordinary. I'm just anecdotally looking at the amount of how little traffic there actually was around during that weekend. So what's the idea of the walkability?
Sure. And now it's interesting you say that because what would be interesting in terms of future living lab for sustainable travel is to really look at some of the data relating to what happened this week and start to ask ourselves, how could we maintain that? Yeah, do we really need just a V8 to have that type of behavior change? So that would so that could be an interesting experiment. But okay, in terms of walkability, the way I feel walkability is the easiest way is to think of how pleasant, attractive, and inspiring is a designated area to walk through. Okay, so that's walkability. It's a big theme around many cities because it's walkability and livability I found are quite parallel. So if you have a good walkable city. But again, I thought, okay, my background is product innovation and so on. So I thought, what can we make very simply that can start us on a journey of creating a walkability app? So we went to a Future Cities hackathon last week, and we asked ourselves a different question. We just said, how can we have more people walk more frequently in some of the busiest traffic routes? And what we came up with was a lot of the people that were walking down the busy roads, when we did some just on-spot user research, they said, we don't know any other way to walk. That's the only way we know. So we designed a simple algorithm where we said, okay, let's look at what's available right now. And what we found was available was via OpenStreetMap. They have a nice listing of street typologies. So they say highway, road, residential street. So we said, and park being the highest. So we just said, let's rate these typologies according to our own desirability, create a simple algorithm, and test it out from Central Station to the hackathon venue. And what happened was we did Google Maps, and it took us straight down Ultima Road, all of us, fit guys, all coughing and etc. Then we ran it through our algorithm, and it gave us this beautiful route down the goods line. So it's a disused goods line. We had Frank Gehry architecture. We had a couple of musicians doing some busking, visual art, seating, little flora and fauna. And unless you're in the know, you wouldn't guess it, because why? Google designs it with efficiency, like direct. So that for me, I really like that idea. So we're going to take it forward, and we're going to go further with the algorithm and just ask ourselves a simple question. If you want to get from A to B, what we'd like is to create an app that gives you a more healthy, enjoyable route rather than just a functional one.
I was in Sydney for the last 2 weeks, and I was at Parramatta, but I had reason to get into the city, and it was an event that my son was a part of at Sydney University. Now, I had grown up in that whole area, Newtown, eastern suburbs, and had lived and worked there for many, many years. But the one place people don't go, when I was working there in the 80s and the 90s, was Redfern, just Redfern Station. And he was saying to me, oh, Dad, just go the back way. You can get the train from Redfern back out to Parramatta. And I said, oh, really? He said, no, there's this fantastic curving pathway, and it's timber, and then there's trees. And I thought, okay, I did it. And within that time, from the Wilkinson building at Sydney University, I was there already. And I just didn't even notice it. And the streets were alive. People were walking, doing stuff. It was really energetic, and it was very exciting and invigorating. And also, I started to take in and appreciate a lot of the architecture that I had actually forgotten about.
And that's the great thing of walking, isn't it? It's universal, it's movement, and it makes you more observant. They talk about us being more in the present moment. Walking's a wonderful way to do that. So the more we can create applications, tools that allow people to discover these treasures, I think we're going to progress towards a more livable city.
Amazing. You're clearly very passionate about sustainable living and using technology to do that. What motivates you? I have two questions. How did you get into it, and what motivates you to keep going?
So how I got into it, like all these things, it's just 2011, I had been doing a lot of work as Richard Balfour in my other life as managing a bunch of oil and gas publications, and I just reached a point where I was in Old Street. And I'd walk through Shoreditch all the time, and always you'd have these interesting conversations. People like, oh yeah, man, we're building this app, we're building this app. So I thought, look, I've got to pay more of a visit to that side of aspects. So just one December, I just thought, let me take a couple of months off work and look at what are the opportunities in Shoreditch. So I went down just literally a knockabout, talked to some app developers, digital agencies, and January the 4th, I started a job as an account manager with one of the digital agencies, and that was it. We started managing accounts with a team in Ukraine, and so on, and another team in Netherlands. So yeah, it was just a decision. That was it.
And why are you living in Parramatta and not Newcastle?
Well, that's a work in progress, isn't it? Yeah. Well, basically family's in Parramatta, so one of the reasons I moved back was to be with family a bit more. But Newcastle's great, it's so welcoming, it's always a pleasure to be here, so, looking forward to collaborating with all you guys.
Well, I mean, that's the key, it's the collaboration, the opportunity to go down there, and you guys come up here, and we go down there. I mean, Parramatta is a fantastic place, because it's actually part of my family came and grew up there and established in the early 1800s. And just to walk around Parramatta now is absolutely extraordinary. In terms of change, it'd be probably the best part of 20 years since I've been there. And
that's when I left.
Transformational. Oh, you left then, right.
Yeah. So it's totally different.
So what do you, in terms of dealing with councils, because you've had the whole experience of UK, what do you think are the big challenges under a federated system we have in here in Australia? I'm thinking about New South Wales and the way that councils behave.
So when I was leaving, a big theme was devolution, right? Because you had the British exit, and a lot of the constituencies didn't vote for it, especially if you look at all the big cities, Bristol, Manchester, London, and so on. They didn't vote for it. So they were really like, hey, look, we really need to get more power to do more good stuff. So down there, I'm seeing a trend towards more independent decision-making at a local level in councils. Here, it's a different thing. Like, I'm getting around it, but like, there's this middle layer of state and federal, and then the local, and I'm still working my way around what falls in state, what falls in federal, what falls in local. But the good thing is everyone's been very down to earth. Nick and I have had some good chats about what's happening, how can we work together. So yeah, I think it's just been very down to earth, and I'm again looking forward to having more of those conversations.
Well, constitutionally, of course, the local governments in Australian law, they don't have to exist. I mean, this is the really strange situation, and in fact, in the last federal election, there was the effort to try and bring up as a part of a referendum to change that. But I think that one of the big challenges, and I think in Newcastle we've seen, is that there's a lot of people want to get into this space, and it's just trying to figure out who are the genuine players in that. So given the experience in London and now here, what are the key things that stand out for you when you're trying to figure out who's the fraud here?
Well, again, I think a good example is this whole aspect of open data, right? So Transport for London has not just a great open data platform, they have a fantastic open data innovation meetup. Yeah, so you can meet up every 3 weeks to listen to what data has just been released, how you can work with it. You can have those water bubbler conversations of, hey, I'm a maker, I'm an industrial designer. Oh, well, I'm a developer, I'm interested in this. So you have this community to really create, and before you know it, you've got also Google Campus that's just up the road. Free office startup space, it's Google, so they can afford it. Free workshops to help you make your product. So they got this training meets space meets data all in one. But we can do it in Newcastle. We got 1804, and Nick's really passionate about pushing out the data, so we can make that. But the answer to that is, and my favorite city is Chicago. They have an amazing open data platform, open data program. Definitely worth checking it out. A load of Chicago-specific apps designed by developers, open-sourced. So I think it's just get people together, put some data out there, put some challenges, and start to just grow it.
I think that's the point of Lunaticks Live, where it's about bringing people together and talking about ideas and collaborating and working together to put Newcastle on the map as a smart city. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your knowledge with us.
Much appreciated.
Pleasure, always a pleasure come to Newcastle. So yeah, wish you guys a lot of good creation going into 2018.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I guess and that's a round of applause for all of our guests tonight here. 1804 has been fantastic. Hyperlocal is the big buzzword right across the platform, and living cities and living labs. And I think it's been a great evening. Thank you very much, Gunilla and your crew, for playing a wonderful host here at 1804. And December 5, official launch, 10 a.m. So I think it's still inviting people to come along. Absolutely.
I'd also like to thank every person for coming throughout the year to the Lunaticks Live. It's been a really special year. We have talked about so many great, exciting projects. We've met amazing people and working in that entrepreneur space where people are taking chances and pushing the boundaries of technology.
And we also want to say a big shout out to our fantastic leader, Gordon, who's is in a case of being repaired, but we wish you a speedy recovery, mate. He couldn't be here tonight, but he sends out his good vibes for a hyper-local connected world.
That's us for 2017. Thanks so much. See you next year.
Okay.
TheatreNewcastle.com.au is Newcastle and the Hunters' one-stop hub for theatregoers and the theatre industry. There is a user-friendly calendar function to search shows, a show guide that lists events, dates and ticketing information, individual show pages including video clips and galleries, a theatre company directory, individual theatre company pages showcasing the company and its key members, an actor and theatre personnel directory which is a valuable database of talent, individual bio pages where you can learn more about the incredible local talent that exists here in Newcastle and the Hunter, a directory of theatre venues in the region, individual theatre venue pages detailing the venue's history, its location and chief contacts, an auditions page to announce upcoming auditions. Log on today to see what's on or register as an actor, theatre company, theatre venue or theatre personnel. It's free and it's easy.
The real challenge is how do we make it, well, sustainable.